Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get things going here on this YouTube channel. We're going to start things off with maybe reviews, some podcasts, that kind of stuff, just mainly based on the fact that I don't really have a setup for it yet, and I'm not just going to jump into gaming just to jump into it. That'll probably happen sooner. We're going to be reviewing SummerSlam 2019 here, and we're going to be talking about everything and anything fun that has to do with this show. There was a lot going on in this show. It wasn't really that long of a show. It was about 3.5 hours. And there was a 2-hour pre-show, which they have for every event, and I don't know why they do that, because WrestleMania ended up being 8.5 hours, and I think for anybody, 8.5 hours of anything except a job is really, really frustrating. I can't even sit through 8.5 hours. I want to gouge my eyes out after about 4. So, we're going to get it going here. And SummerSlam was from Toronto, which was the first time, and I want to say, well, I think in 2015 they started at Barclays Center. It was 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 it was in, or this year it was in Toronto. I was at SummerSlam 16 and TakeOver 18. TakeOver's obviously the night before. Every SummerSlam since 2015 was their first one. This is just knowledge off the top of my head. So, I actually missed the first 10 minutes of this show. I was with my girlfriend, and she's not a wrestling fan whatsoever, so unfortunately I had to torture her for about 3 hours, and she left during the main event. But, yeah. The first match was Becky Lynch versus Natalya. Right, so this match was, in my opinion, it was alright. It was what it was. I don't really know if it was the show I would have chose to kick off the show. It was, let's just see this here. Right, so basically it was just like a regular wrestling match, like most matches here. There were different parts of the match. The sharpshooter was locked in at least, I felt like it was 15 times. That's what most of the match was centered around. And it ended up at the end, well, no, Natalya actually locked in her sharpshooter for quite a while, and then you know how they drag him back in the ring as soon as they're going to hit the ropes. That's basically what was happening. She kept doing that, and it wasn't getting anything. And Becky Lynch eventually at the end was able to reverse it into the disarmor, and it tapped Natalya out, and she lost. I don't know if Toronto's her hometown, but I know she's Canada raised. The match was okay. Like I said, I wouldn't have had the match kick off the show, but it was what it was. And the next match was, I mean, I don't even know why we had this match, but it was what it was. Goldberg was taking on Dolph Ziggler in a regular match. Pointless to me. I mean, I don't dislike Goldberg. I just think that the concept of them bringing guys that are 50 years old plus, and I'm not taking anything away from them and everything that they've done for the business, but I just think that when they bring these guys back and they have them face guys like Dolph Ziggler, who've been with the company for 7.5 plus years, much longer than that actually. Wow, time flies. They've had guys that have been doing this for 10 plus years, and they've been, you know, there every single week, doing this, doing that. I don't really think it's fair to them that somebody else who's been retired for 10 plus years gets thrusted into the picture and just demolishes them. This match was about, I don't know if I have an actual timepiece here, but this match was nothing special at all. It was just basically, well, Ziggler was actually getting some offense in the beginning of the match. Like I said, the build was just, there's not much build in WWE at all nowadays, so Ziggler did get off the opening bell with a super kick, and he hit a couple of those, but, you know, Goldberg is 4 times his size, so a super kick is not going to take him out. You're going to need at least 10 of those. And then Goldberg speared Ziggler, and then he hit a jackhammer as well, and that was really much all she wrote. So, like I said, it was DF worthy match. It was nothing special. It was just a squash match, and that's what I expected, because the longest match Goldberg has had probably since he has this little run. I wouldn't say it's a run because he's come and gone in different pieces. This was really the longest, not the longest, this was one of the shorter matches. The longest match I think he had was with Lesnar in WrestleMania. And, you know, Goldberg and Lesnar together, you're not going to get more than 5 minutes out of either of them. So, but Lesnar actually was quite a show tonight, Lesnar. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Goldberg wins. After the match, Ziggler was urging him on the microphone, saying, "I'm the man," yada, yada, yada. And Goldberg came out, took him out again, left the arena, and Ziggler proceeded to do the same thing again. And, you know, it is what it is. That's my motto nowadays with this stuff. This is another thing I did not see, and I'm thinking of something else. Drake was pumping up, not Toronto Drake, but Maverick Drake, 24/7 champion. Not at the moment because that title never stays with anybody. Was pumping up the New Day. He was dressed like Drake, you know, the music artist, and Maverick said he was told R-Truth would be there, and they were talking and whatnot. And R-Truth and Carmella actually came out dressed up as a foreign commentary team, but they disappeared. I actually like them. Pretty funny. The next match. Now here let me address this first. I love AJ Styles and I love Ricochet, but I just think WWE has a thing where if they get something that makes money and it does well for them, they beat it like a dead horse. And we've seen AJ Styles fight Ricochet at least 10 times, it feels like, in the last 3 months. Like I said, I love them both, but at some point it's just like, you know, rinse and repeat, and it becomes less attractive each time. This match was alright. They actually got a decent amount of time. Ricochet was dressed, I don't know what he was dressed in, but it was all blue, and it looked like a latex suit. Personally, I didn't like it at all, but everyone has their own opinion. Ricochet did, you know, most of what he does, athletic ability, you know, moonsaults, all that kind of stuff. They do have good chemistry. There was a part in this match where Ricochet launched from the ring apron and used the shoulders of the OC as steps before hitting Styles with Hurricane Rana on the floor. That was really good. He was selling his injured left leg. He also had a nice springboard elbow from the top rope for a near fall. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson were around for Styles in this match, so they were a bit of a distraction throughout the Ricochet. Towards the end of the match, he attempted a Phoenix Splash with the top rope and was caught midair. This was absolutely beautiful. This was one of the best endings of the matches of the night. He attempted his Phoenix Splash. Styles caught him, jumped up, and hit him with Styles Clash, and that was all she wrote. But that was a sight to see. So Styles ended up retaining the United States Championship, and I don't really know how much longer these guys are going to feud, because based off the next night, I'm thinking that Seth Rollins is going to come somewhere into the mix there. The next match was the SmackDown Women's Championship with Bayley and Ember Moon. I feel like at this point in the show, the crowd had zero interest in this match. It felt like something you would see on Raw and SmackDown. And it didn't do much for me. I don't really know how everybody else feels, but it was just a regular rinse and repeat women's match. Ember Moon was in control for majority of the match. She hit a Hurricane Rana from the top rope for the first of certain near falls. Bayley was able to put the match away, however. Like I said, it was one of those matches kind of where you have one person in control most of the match and then the tide turns. The match didn't do much for me. It's not something I would recommend to go back and watch. you know, is what it was. Bayley ended up retaining her title, and I don't really know how long they're planning on keeping this title on her. Like I said, I really need to get more tuned in with the product. I've just been so desensitized based on everything that has happened and just the rinse and repeat things that have happened within the company. And then, AEW comes storming around the corner and everyone's, praising that, which I think it has all the reason to be praised because it's going to be a lot of fun. The next match was Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon. The stipulation to this match was that if Owens lost this match, he must quit. Elias served as a ringside enforcer, not necessary. These two again have had plenty of matches before in the past. Not so much now, but before. This match was again. I feel like at certain shows you get to the middle part of the show and it's just like you're coasting at a certain volume and not a lot of things are making sense. Not that they aren't making sense so much, but they just, like I said, coasting. And it's just rinse and repeat. What you think is going to happen is going to happen. And you just have a couple matches in a row where it's just kind of like stale interest. Kevin Owens was doing sentons all over the place here. Elias pulled the referee out to avoid the pin. He was helping Shane McMahon, of course, plenty of times in this match. Got to a point where KO took out Elias and the referees with the running senton outside. That was very cool. The referee later got up. Kevin Owens had a chair in his hands. This was one of those matches where, like I said, it was a regular match. You could get disqualified from that. Kevin Owens waited for the referee to turn his back, and he kicked McMahon low, and he hit the stunner for the pin. So, as it was, this match did nothing. And then, I personally think that this was one of the best matches of the night. The next match that's coming up, Charlotte Flair takes on Trish Stratus. And everybody who knows Trish Stratus, she's probably one of the best, if not the best, women's wrestler of all time. Charlotte Flair has her own legacy. You can say what you want about it, but she's still great in the ring, and she's very valuable to the company. At the beginning, it was just a normal match. Sometimes it takes the crowd a while to get into matches. That's a lot of times how it goes. Until the end when it starts kicking. It's very, if you notice, it's very difficult in today's wrestling world to have a crowd fully engaged in a match from bell to bell. Some companies, or not companies, some superstars just have that stigma about them where they're capable of doing that. Charlotte Flair and Trish Stratus, they started off doing things like normal. I guess the concept behind this match was basically a passing to the torch, but I feel like it was kind of late because Charlotte's been on top for so long. Even though I still think Sasha is the company leader, they'll tell you differently. I feel like Charlotte's been on top for so long that having this match now is good. And it was a very, very good match. It was probably one of my favorite matches of the night. I don't get that into women's matches. I do like women's matches a lot, but I just feel like the way that they presented them, not counting TakeOver, has been very poor, especially when they have so much women's talent that they refuse to utilize. This was a very good match. It's kind of hard to review this whole match because there's so much going on. Trish Stratus definitely got her offense in. For someone that's 43 years old in a wrestling ring and has been retired for a while, I do believe that she does it better than most of the women on the roster. And I don't know if I think that because of how everyone's booked, but Trish Stratus was definitely shining here. And this was, as advertised, I think this was one of my favorite matches of the night. where Stratus was going towards the Stratus faction, and the chick kick on separate 2 counts. Flair was able to get her to tap out at the end. This was a fantastic match, and I really would recommend that if you guys have the time of day to go back and watch this match, that you would watch it, because this was, at this point in the pay-per-view, I feel like there's a lot of different things that are on people's mind, you know. Sitting and watching wrestling is fun and all, but after a while, just like anything you do, and next up was this match. Okay, so the next match was a title match. It was Kofi Kingston defending his title against Randy Orton. You know, I was one of those people where I think Kofi winning the WWE title was inevitable, and it's something that we all wanted to see. But I've gotten to a point now where it's like, it is what it is, because I think that it was something the company had to do, and something that he definitely deserved. But I think that Kofi Kingston, the way he got the title was great, but Daniel Bryan, when he was on that little heel tenure, I thought he was really good at that, and I wanted, you know, I just feel like it was the right thing to happen to the right person. It was the right person, the right agenda at the wrong time, because I thought Daniel Bryan was running hot with that, and I feel like, I know him and Rowan has been a tag team, but I feel like we haven't seen what we need to see out of Daniel Bryan. And I mean, as far as I know, was he even on the show? He wasn't even on the main card, so you have someone like Daniel Bryan who doesn't even touch the main card. But this had the potential to be a fun match. Was it fun? To me, no. Everyone had their spots in this match. Kofi Kingston's family, well, if I'm correct, his wife and 2 kids were ringside. So you know that if your wife and kids are ringside and someone like Randy Orton is your opponent, he's going to utilize that to his advantage, and he's going to have some fun moments there. So of course Randy Orton was giving his kids some hell and talking trash ringside. The finish was not really acceptable. I don't really think anybody ever wants to see a championship match on a pay-per-view, especially SummerSlam, end in a double countout. Kingston kind of had a little bit of like a heel flash for a minute, you know, or bothering your kids that come to see you at a show. Usually the opponent that represents them is not too happy, so that definitely gains more heat on Orton, who is one of the best heels ever. And Kofi Kingston picked up a kendo stick. Didn't get much of a reaction from the crowd. They were chanting BS. When someone hits you with you would think that much larger reaction from the crowd, especially Toronto, but that's not what we had here. It seemed like Orton had the match appeared to be won late. He was intercepted at a top rope splash attempt by Kingston, caught him in RKO. But Randy Orton was using his emotion and laughing at the sidelines. Kingston rolled out of the ring to set up the finish. So, double count out. The next match. Now, I didn't really pay attention too much to this match alone, because I was so focused on the entrance to it. It was Bray Wyatt, who, since he had his new gimmick, has not, I don't know if he hasn't wrestled a match, I don't think so, but he definitely hasn't made an entrance. He was taking on Finn Balor. It was the in-ring debut of Wyatt's new persona. What I think would have made this better, I know they were trying to get Bray Wyatt over as much as possible, so they kind of shied away from it, but if they would have did Finn Balor coming out as the Demon against Bray Wyatt coming out as the Fiend, that would have been really cool. That would have he was seeing a lot of cameras rolling. So he kind of had like a Marilyn Manson remix song. He was dressed in all white, which is always a cool thing. And like I said, the entrance was fantastic. He had like a little head with him. The song was a little bit different. I really liked it a lot, actually. And his entrance was actually, like I said, one of my favorite parts of the show. Um, uh, Wyatt was snapping Balor's neck with his hands before hitting a Uranagi. He set up for Sister Gabrielle until her pair took a look conflicted. But, you know, Balor used it as a rally, but he did succumb to a pinfall, the mandible claw, which was it's similar. It's similar to Mankind's claw. I mean, how many wrestlers have used that move? It's all the same. He used that, and the lights went out after the match, and Wyatt disappeared. So that was a fantastic entrance for Wyatt, and I think that was the way to do it. I think they waited a little bit while for him to debut, as I thought it was going to be, but like I said, it's my first video, so we'll get there. We'll get a little bit more confident, and we'll get a little bit more in depth with things. Seth Rollins taking on Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is just, I mean, he doesn't do anything for me anymore. I saw him once in person, that was cool. It just doesn't have that same that it used to have. Especially when you get older, you get a little bit smarter, you start realizing, like, I don't know. I just think that, I don't know, his concept of having a title and being in the main event when he's not even there is just, that's so wrong on so many levels. This match was actually a lot better than I thought. This was a very good main event, I would say. The build was kind of stale, like most of the matches. Rollins had a great performance in this match. He had a rib injury coming into the match. He was nursing that. There was an early beating, lots of German suplexes. If you know anything about a Brock Lesnar match, you know that his suplexes are going to be somewhere and everywhere, because his moveset, I can't speak for when he first started, but his moveset is not as big of a variety that it needs to be. That's why, like, I feel like it's really, Lesnar's one of those people where the better his opponent is, the better he'll be. I feel like his opponent brings out better matches. My favorite match with Lesnar in recent memory was his match against AJ Styles at Survivor Series, I want to say. It might have been last year, Survivor Series 2018. I think that was the match with AJ Styles. Suplexes and so much more. But Lesnar, something we haven't seen in a while, was slayed again, clean. You know, their match at WrestleMania was kind of just a hit and run, with Rollins taking the Universal title. That was what opened WrestleMania 35, I believe. That was a nice way to open WrestleMania, I believe. And this was a good match. There was no illegal tactics in this match. It was a regular match, and it was one clean. So I feel like the tides turn a little bit. Like, I know the last couple of years we haven't really seen anybody beat Lesnar, let alone clean. So many of times we were thinking, oh, Roman Reigns is going to do it, Roman Reigns is going to do it, and it just never really happened. So Rollins does take the Universal title back, and that is SummerSlam. This was definitely good. But one of the things that was kind of perplexed me a little bit was that they were advertising for Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, some kind of angle they were advertising with throughout the show, and at about 10:32 p.m., Michael Cole does his signature farewell and says, "Thank you for joining us, everybody." And the fireworks are going off, and I'm like, well, I could have swore that the Roman Reigns Daniel Bryan angle came and went, and nobody said anything. It was a kickoff show tease, and then I believe it was teased once throughout the show. So that kind of perplexed me a little bit. I was wondering what was going on there. But yeah, that's really the show. So I think that overall, I don't know if I could give it a rating. I want to say that it was so in sync with so many shows this year, where you have variety of things that are very positive and a variety of things that are beneficial to the show and the progression of it. I want to say that, but I'm not sure that I could say it was a great show. Maybe it's just because I'm spoiled like so many other people, and they want to see the mediocre change that has been going on with this company kind of roll over. I would say it was acceptable. I wouldn't say it was great. There were flashes of great, but then I felt like the middle of the show was kind of just like we were coasting. Like the Kevin Owens match against Shane McMahon, coasting. Kofi Kingston, Randy Orton, coasting. Ember Bailey Moon. The opening match was okay with Becky and Natalya. Bray Wyatt's entrance. The match itself I barely paid attention to. I was so focused on his attire and just the whole aesthetic of it. The main event was good. Charlotte and Trish Stratus was pushing my favorite match of the night. Styles and Ricochet had a fantastic finish. I definitely thought that I'm still going to stick to my guns and say that Charlotte and Trish Stratus was one of my favorite matches of the night. It may have been my favorite match of the night, actually. Like I said, this was a decent show. It could have been better, I think, but for what it was worth, considering that WWE has this problem now where they incorporate random pay-per-views and events, and they don't start building for a pay-per-view until about 10 minutes before the show goes on the air. That's a problem, and I think that that is something that they need to work on. I'm one of the old school guys where I think 5, maybe 6 pay-per-views a year would be better, because the more that somebody's invested into a storyline and the more that somebody is willing to sit there and say, wow, this is really good, I really want to see this, that's how you progress and build a bigger fan base. No means am I saying that WWE has no fan base, because they have the largest fan base in professional wrestling, but they have the potential to be so much better. And I think over the last couple years, we've all seen how, it's gone downhill. And I did enjoy it for what it was worth, parts of it. Wasn't so bleach-inducing like the other shows they've had. But that's really all it is. So I hope everybody enjoyed this little podcast / YouTube video. I'll be back with more. Like I said, this is just the start of the channel. We're going to incorporate gaming, and I'm not going to be as calm. I'm being a little bit calm now because I'm doing a review. But gaming, that's when it's going to get fun. So anybody that knows me knows I'm very outspoken, and comedy is key. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.